Everything in the National Football League can change in a matter of seconds. Seriously, one play, one signature, one decision, and an entire franchise's destiny is rewritten. Welcome to NFL Nexus. Now, before we get into the absolute granular details of today's analysis, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this explainer, and drop a comment down below with what you think about all of this. And hey, if you want to support the channel and keep these deep dives going, definitely consider becoming a channel member. We've got a lot to uncover today. Okay, let's just dive right into this, because right now, the Houston Texans are on a massive high-stakes collision course this offseason. Think about last year. Stroud didn't just play well, right? He fundamentally altered the entire trajectory of a struggling franchise. It was like a jolt of electricity. He locked up the Offensive Rookie of the Year award. He completely shattered rookie passing records. Throwing for over 4,000 yards with only 5 interceptions is just absurd. And then he dismantled that elite Cleveland Browns defense in a stunning playoff victory. He proved to the entire football world that he is, without a doubt, the real deal. But here's the catch. That massive overnight success immediately forces a collision course, a really dangerous one. It's a collision course that merges the massive financial realities of building a championship roster with the immense back-breaking pressure of on-field expectations. Every single move, every single snap, and every literal dollar spent is currently under a microscope in Houston. And right at the very center of this brewing storm is one man and one looming unresolved issue. So let's start the clock.
We are entering year 4. And I really need you to understand the cinematic gravity of what that number actually means in the modern NFL. This isn't just another season on the calendar, folks. We are entering the 4th critical year of a generational rookie contract. In the entire architecture of building an NFL dynasty, year 4 is the crucible. It's the make-or-break point. To truly grasp why this is so important, you have to understand the mechanics of the modern NFL rookie wage scale. See, before 2011, rookies were handed massive, franchise-altering contracts the very second they were drafted, before they even played a single snap. But now they are locked into fixed, highly discounted contracts for 4 years, and this creates the absolute ultimate competitive advantage. When a franchise drafts a generational talent like Stroud, they are granted this tiny, fleeting window where their elite quarterback is incredibly, almost unfairly cheap. It frees up literally tens of millions of dollars, allowing the front office to go out and stack the rest of the roster with highly paid veteran stars. It's a cheat code, basically. But that window is rapidly closing. Year 4 is the exact moment where the limitless potential of youth violently collides with the absolute, unforgiving reality of the salary cap. Stroud is no longer just this promising rookie trying to find his footing. He is the undisputed face of a franchise that has been starved for a Super Bowl window for years. The expectations are astronomical right now, and that timeline is shrinking by the minute.
So that brings us to the central mystery, the massive elephant in the room that is presenting a defining tension over the entire franchise right now. Will the Houston Texans finally pay their franchise quarterback? Because look, Stroud is officially eligible for a massive contract extension this offseason. A deal of this magnitude would net him a major landscape-altering payday. We are talking about the kind of contract that entirely resets the quarterback market across the whole league. It would likely push well north of $50 million a year. Let that number sink in, over $50 million a year. Yet despite his eligibility and despite his absolute, undeniable importance to the team's entire identity, there's been basically zero significant traction building around an extension. There is just this deafening silence coming from the boardroom. And let me tell you, that's the exact kind of silence that makes agents incredibly nervous. It creates leverage battles. And for the fans, it leaves them incredibly anxious about the future of their team.
And this perfectly highlights the stark, dramatic irony of the front office's off-season financial moves. Look at what's happening. Houston is paying everyone, except C.J. Stroud. This isn't a situation where a team is just broke or they're hoarding cap space because they're terrified of the luxury tax. No way. The Texans have the checkbook wide open right now. They have fully 100% embraced an all-in mentality to capitalize on this exact moment in time. They have been incredibly active this offseason. They are aggressively shelling out millions upon millions of dollars, writing these massive guaranteed checks to lock down their core pieces and build a terrifying juggernaut, a team capable of taking down the absolute elites of the AFC. But the most important piece of the puzzle, the literal engine of the entire offense, the guy who touches the ball on every single offensive snap and is responsible for actually scoring the points, he's just sitting there, waiting.
Let's actually look at the undeniable evidence of this spending spree and dive into the granular details of where all that money is actually going. The Texans have aggressively extended foundational pieces across the entire roster. First, you have Will Anderson. This is a player they traded immense draft capital to acquire, and now he's completely secured as their foundational game-wrecking edge presence for the foreseeable future. Then, Danielle Hunter, brought in on a massive jaw-dropping free agent haul to create a terrifying pass rush duo opposite of Anderson. Then there's Azeez Al-Shaair, locked down financially as the physical, hard-hitting enforcer of that linebacking core. And on the other side of the ball, Dalton Schultz, paid handsomely to remain Stroud's ultimate security blanket over the middle of the field. So the crucial takeaway here is this: the front office is completely willing to invest in their defensive cornerstones. They are totally willing to pay top dollar to secure their tight end. They are making aggressive moves that absolutely scream, "We want to win right now." But when you list these core pieces out like this, it contrasts sharply, almost painfully with Stroud's situation. So you have to ask, why the hesitation? What complex, behind-the-scenes calculation is the front office running that makes them look at their franchise quarterback and say, not yet?
Section 2. The multi-million-dollar dilemma. High stakes in the front office. Let's dig into the business side.
Because, guys, this isn't just about football anymore. This is a granular, extremely high-stakes financial chess match playing out behind closed doors, totally away from the cameras and the cheering fans. Every single day that passes without a signature on the dotted line increases the pressure exponentially. The front office is weighing risk against reward on a scale that will literally determine the fate of the franchise for the next decade. It is a terrifying balancing act, and one wrong move could plunge the team right back into irrelevance. Now listen closely to this insider intel. Jeremy Fowler of ESPN recently reported, and I quote, "Some around the league believe that's a tell that maybe they just don't get something done this summer, but he's in position to ball out in year 4. I want you to treat that like a pivotal documentary soundbite. In the high-stakes world of the NFL, agents and general managers talk constantly. The whisper network is real. And a tell in front office speak? That is incredibly dangerous. It signifies that the two sides are fundamentally misaligned on value. The entire league is watching Houston's poker face right now, and the doubt is growing rapidly. It's trending towards Stroud simply playing out the 4th year of his rookie contract without the safety net of a massive guaranteed summer extension. Think about what that means. He is essentially being asked to bet entirely on himself, risking a catastrophic, career-altering injury just to prove he is worth the hundreds of millions he desires. That is heavy.
Let's visually weigh the potentially franchise-altering consequences here. It's a razor-thin tightrope they're walking. On one hand, you have extending, now. If you lock in a price a year early, you avoid falling victim to the ever-raising market on quarterback contracts. Because let's be real, quarterback salaries only ever go up. They never go down. If you truly believe in him, you ink a lucrative multi-year extension right now, and you potentially save tens of millions in the long run. It's just smart business. But, on the other hand, you have waiting. And let me break down exactly why pulling the trigger too early is a nightmare scenario for a front office. In the NFL, massive quarterback contracts come with astronomical guaranteed money and huge signing bonuses. If you pay him now and Stroud somehow falls short of expectations, or if his production suddenly regresses, which does happen, having him inked on a deal for several seasons creates an absolute catastrophe. You see, you can't just cut an underperforming quarterback and walk away clean. It doesn't work like that. That guaranteed money accelerates onto the current year's salary cap, creating what is known as dead cap space. Actually, let's put that into perspective. Dead cap is essentially paying tens of millions of dollars to a ghost. It means you are paying a massive chunk of your budget to a player who isn't producing, or worse, isn't even on your roster anymore. And that dead cap physically prevents you from signing other competent players to fill out your 53-man roster. It is a cap space disaster that you cannot easily trade or cut your way out of. It can utterly cripple a franchise for a half-decade. That is the true, terrifying dilemma keeping executives awake at night in Houston.
Section 3. Mastering the System. Evolution inside the offensive lab. Let's take it from the boardroom down to the field.
We now shift the narrative focus away from the boardroom spreadsheets and directly onto the gridiron, to the meeting rooms, and to the absolute grind of the offseason. Because regardless of the contract status, the game does not stop. The season is coming. Stroud is entering his 2nd year under offensive coordinator Nick Caley, and this is where the raw talent is supposed to be forged into an unstoppable weapon. But let's establish the 2025 offensive baseline that they absolutely must overcome. Last season, the Texans finished 13th in scoring and 18th in total yards. 13th and 18th. For a team with ultimate, entirely realistic Super Bowl aspirations, that is completely unacceptable. While the offense overall took a step ahead from the previous year, their passing offense was stuck squarely in the middle of the pack, and their rushing efficiency utterly tanked. I mean, it sank into the bottom 10 of the entire league.
Let's dive into the granular mechanics of why that rushing efficiency failed so miserably. The offensive line really struggled with run-blocking win rates at the point of attack. And because of that, early down play calling became far too predictable against loaded defensive boxes. When you cannot efficiently run the ball on first and second down, you are forcing your young quarterback into obvious, highly stressful passing situations on third and long. The defense knows you have to pass. They pin their ears back, they bring the blitz, and it is a recipe for disaster. This is the massive hurdle they must clear. They cannot afford to be average anymore. They are mandated to be elite.
But there is a silver lining here. Listen to how offensive coordinator Nick Kelly describes their evolving, high-stakes dynamic heading into this year. He stated, "We have transparent and honest conversations. Year 2, you're always trying to dive deeper, to continue to expand the finer points of the relationship." This brilliantly illustrates a quarterback and a coordinator who are no longer just awkwardly learning each other's tendencies. They are obsessively mastering their system. Having transparent and honest conversations means the coach can ruthlessly call out the quarterback when he misses a post-snap read, and the quarterback can honestly tell the coordinator when he absolutely hates a specific play concept. Ego is out the window. They are highly collaborative. They are taking past failures, dissecting them with surgical precision in the film room, and using those harsh lessons to build a significantly more lethal offensive language. It's like watching two scientists in a lab perfectly synthesizing a new formula.
And to actually fix those bottom 10 rushing numbers and elevate the entire passing game, the front office has provided a vastly upgraded arsenal. This isn't just talk, they brought in the reinforcements. First off, they added the bruising, relentless force of David Montgomery to the rushing attack. This injects pure, violent power into the backfield to finally fix those dreaded short-yardage situations. Next, they made multiple strategic additions to reinforce the offensive line. They are building an absolute wall to protect their most valuable asset and create the explosive running lanes that just weren't there last year. And finally, they are banking heavily on the continued development of the tight end group. Now, this is a crucial, granular detail that you really need to understand. Nick Kelly comes directly from the Sean McVay coaching tree with the LA Rams, right? Over there, he specialized specifically in tight end development. Utilizing 2 tight end sets, which is known as 12 personnel, allows the offense to completely dictate defensive matchups. It forces the defense to stay in heavy base packages just to respect the run. And the second they do that, it instantly creates massive mismatches in the passing game over the middle of the field for Stroud to exploit. It's a beautiful trap. The weapons have been forged, the pieces are all in place.
With these deeply strategic new weapons in place, Kelly delivered another quote that should honestly send immediate chills down the spine of every defensive coordinator in the AFC. He said, "Things are processing faster. We're a step ahead. I need you to grasp the terrifying potential of a fully comfortable Year 2 CJ Stroud running this highly customized, souped-up offense. Think about it. In Year 1, you are just trying to teach the language. As a rookie, you are just trying to survive the sheer overwhelming speed of the professional level. It's like drinking from a fire hose. But in Year 2, the game slows down entirely. Stroud is no longer actively translating the play call in his head before the snap while frantically scanning the defense. He isn't thinking, he is simply reacting. He sees the game at a completely different frame rate now. He is processing faster, recognizing disguised coverages instantly, anticipating windows before they even open. Which means this offense is going to operate with a lethal, terrifying efficiency that we didn't even get to see last year."
Section 4. The road to kickoff. The countdown to Week 1. Let's look at the calendar.
Because the clock is absolute, and it is relentless. It does not care about complex contract negotiations. It does not care about mounting expectations or fan anxiety. The season waits for absolutely no one. We have officially wrapped up OTAs, but the real, definitive test is just materializing on the horizon. There is an entire 3 months of grueling, exhausting preparation required before they step onto the field for that opening kickoff. Let's meticulously march through this exhausting off-season calendar. June 9th to 11th was mandatory minicamp. The voluntary phase is officially over. Attendance is required by the league. Then, mid-July, training camp begins. The pads finally come on. The brutal physical toll of an NFL season truly starts here in the blistering summer heat. Then, August 13th to 28th, you have the preseason slate against the Chargers, Raiders, and Panthers. And then finally, September, Week 1 versus the powerhouse Buffalo Bills. And guys, this isn't just any regular game. This is a massive early season measuring stick. The Bills are an elite, battle-hardened AFC powerhouse led by Josh Allen. Facing them in Week 1 will immediately test whether the Houston Texans are true, battle-tested contenders, or if they're just off-season pretenders hiding behind a mountain of media hype. Every single rep in this timeline, every single detailed film session is absolutely critical. There's literally zero margin for error if they want to hit the ground running.
But before they even think about facing Buffalo, they have to face the intense fire of hostile competition in the preseason.
We really need to zero in on these two pivotal practice dates as the ultimate litmus test for this evolving offense. Step 1, August 18th, a massive joint practice against the Las Vegas Raiders. Step 2, August 26th, a second joint practice against the Carolina Panthers. Now, if you follow the league closely, you know these aren't just your standard walk-through team scrimmages. Far from it. These are brutal, highly contested, aggressively competitive environments. Tempers always flare. Nick Caley and C.J. Stroud's evolved offense will be heavily tested against unfamiliar, complex defensive fronts that are actively trying to destroy their rhythm and ruin their day. This is exactly where you find out what works, what breaks under pressure, and if this team is truly a step ahead of the curve before the games actually count in the standings. It is going to be a bloodbath, and it is entirely necessary.
Section 5. A make-or-break season. The ultimate climax. It all comes down to this.
Everything we have comprehensively discussed today in this explainer, the looming, incredibly tense multi-million-dollar contract extension, the specifically targeted upgraded offensive weapons like David Montgomery, the granular deep-dive film sessions with Nick Caley, the relentless, unforgiving tick of the off-season clock. It is all weaving together for a highly dramatic, totally unavoidable conclusion. The stage is set for the absolute most important season of C.J. Stroud's professional career. I really need to deliver this to you with maximum cinematic gravity. If the front office holds their ground, calculating that the financial risk of extending early is just too high, and Stroud steps onto that field in September without a new deal, he is betting his entire future, his physical health, and his ultimate legacy on this single, brutal campaign. The extensive preparation is over. The high-priced weapons are fully loaded. Every single storyline culminates right now. There is no turning back.
So, I leave you with this final thrilling cliffhanger to think about. Can Stroud conquer the absolute gauntlet of the AFC and finally push Houston past the divisional round hump they have been painfully stuck on for the past 3 years? Will this calculated high-wire gamble by the front office to withhold an extension result in a glorious, historic Super Bowl run, fueled by a young quarterback with an enormous chip on his shoulder and everything to prove? Or will the immense pressure and a potential sophomore slump cause a devastating, franchise-altering reset? The clock is almost at zero. Let me know exactly what you think is going to happen in the comments down below. Thanks for watching this deep dive on NFL Nexus. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next explainer.